So you've decided that you want to find a home here on the Emerald Coast, waterfront style, and you're looking around the internet trying to figure out whether this is feasible for you. What are some things that I could sink my teeth into? What are some questions that I have? You've looked all around, but you haven't found all that information yet in order to decide to make a move. So that's why you're here on our channel. What we're going to do on this video is we're going to be going over most commonly asked questions about moving to water to see if this is advantageous to you, if this property is going to be right, or maybe we need to go back a couple of blocks, spend a little bit less money, and just enjoy our life that way. If this is you, stick around, we got it coming right at you. What's up, everybody? This is Tim Whittemore here with the Whittemore Group, right here in the beautiful Destin-Fort Walton Beach area. That's right here on the Emerald Coast. That's from Pensacola all the way out to Panama City Beach. If this is your first time to our channel, we do tons and tons of videos about everything you need to know about our area. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, click that little bell so you're notified every single time we got a new video coming out. Now, honestly, we get tons of phone calls and texts from people just like you that are looking to move or invest in this area. We absolutely love it. So it's never too early to reach out to us. Reach out to me and my team here. Give us a call, text, email, shoot us that little paper airplane. Whatever you need to do, we've got your back when moving here to the Emerald Coast. Okay, so let's start talking about waterfront living. Is this going to be advantageous for you moving here? The first thing I want to talk about are what are some different areas that you can go to get affordable living in this area. And what I'll say, most of the people that are moving here will either want to get that sort of luxury living there on the Gulf of Mexico, and then most everybody else is going to be on the other bodies of water such as Choctaw Bay, the Intercoastal Waterway, or wherever else that they're looking to go to in our area. Most of those be looking in Fort Walton Beach, Navarre, Gulf Breeze, Niceville, Freeport, Destin, Miramar Beach, and even 30A and out to Panama City Beach. A lot of these areas are the primary water areas that people are going to go to that are most desired. But we always ask those questions of what are the main concerns that we need to talk about. So first and foremost, let's talk about price. Now, just to get access to the water, to be able to put in your boat, your pontoon boat, a kayak, depending upon what water you're into, it's going to start around $600,000. Now, those aren't going to be the greatest places to go to, but it will give you access for a property that you could perhaps go in, get some rehab going or something like that to get that house up to the specs that you want. To get deep water access, you're going to be looking somewhere around $800,000 as a starting or really median price for you to go. And if you're looking to get more of that luxury feel on their water, that's going to start looking and feeling that way about $1 million. Now, what are those things that people are concerned about? It's access to amenities versus access to water. So am I going to find for the same price point at $600,000, am I going to have the same amenities in that house as I'm going to have the one on the water? And the answer is, well, probably not. When we have a lot that is sitting on the water, depending upon the different things that they have, your home is more than likely not going to have the pool for the same price. It may not have the same square footage as the one sitting on the water versus the one that's not. Also, if you're going to be closer to the things that people want to be close to in the more desirable areas, of course that price is going to go up. So if you're looking to be close to certain amenities, like even in Fort Walton Beach, being close and being in incorporated Fort Walton Beach, the city, you're going to pay a little bit more to have access to those amenities by sitting on the water than you'll have, say, in Freeport, where you're really miles and miles away from, well, anything, the nearest gas station. So those are going to make a big difference for those going to there. Other concerns that people have are insurance, right? Insurance, flood zones, or COBRA zones, or CRBA zones as well. Now, with that being said, insurance, when you have something on the water, will more than likely be higher. Why? Because it's a higher flood risk. However, it doesn't mean that it's in a flood zone, right? As long as your home sits at least 9 feet above the median sea line, then you should be fine, or your insurance shouldn't be crazy, and you can get coverage. If it's below that, you're going to be looking at private coverage, or if you're on the Gulf, you'll definitely be looking at private coverage to be able to cover cover that home, which could be thousands of dollars a month to cover it, just so that you know. If you are concerned about this prior to going into any home, you can always ask your real estate professional, could be us, prior to even offering or looking at that property to see how much that is, to see if that's feasible for you. Now, some properties will have some of their property that is in a flood zone, but as long as the structure is not in a flood zone, you're gonna be all right and the insurance shouldn't be so bad. Now let's talk about CRBA zones, or COBRA zones as we call them. Those are zones that were designated for surge areas when hurricanes, tropical storms, or depressions come through this area. And when the surge waters come in, those are those low-lying areas that will more than likely flood. Those are intended for that. However, there are certain designations, specifically in Destin, that were designated as COBRA zones, but are not in a flood zone. But they're not in a surge zone either, which is really strange. But if you are in a true CRBA zone, it's going to be close to impossible to get the government rate insurance. More than likely at that point, you're going to have to get private insurance to insure that home. So other things that people are concerned about are previous storm damage and flood damage. So this is definitely something that you're going to want to check out on a disclosure. Now, anytime that somebody's selling a property, they are supposed to and need to legally disclose any material defect that they have on the home. If one of those things were flood or storm damage, that should be in there. Now, however, that could have happened, and it can happen when storms do come in because there's nothing blocking that storm coming in. The rest of us that don't live on the water right now, we have all these trees and structures that slow the wind down prior to them going to our home. But for you, you've just got the water in front of you. So a lot of these homes will take the brunt of the storm. Now, a lot of them have been built up so that they can withstand that. So the structure and material of everything are quite a bit better. However, you do want to look into that prior to hitting a yes, let's offer on this home. Other parts to be concerned about are surge zones. You could be in a surge zone and not in a CRBA or COBRA zone, all right? So these surge waters, what happens is when a hurricane comes in, it kind of sucks the water back. And then when it comes in, it pushes it right back in, or pushes it out and then recedes back in, depending upon what sort of storm is rolling through there. And even places that you wouldn't even expect in the middle of the city, even in Fort Walton Beach, could still be in a surge zone. So if a big Cat 4 or 5 comes through town, your home could potentially be underwater with those surge. So make sure that you look those up. You can find the information readily available online through the government site. Also, some things people are concerned about: updates in the home. If it was built after 2005, all those homes are up to date and within code. So that means that the roof has a hurricane clips on it, there's enough nails in the shingles, all things like that. And the windows should be updated, all these other things up to the current code. I would definitely take a look around just to make sure that they are updated, or if they're not, what does it cost in order to get those updated once you do take possession? Now, it could just not just be storm updates, it could just be general updates throughout the home. Granted, if you're going to find some of these homes that are a little bit older and they'll be at a more affordable price, you will have to pay to get the modern updates. However, there's not a whole lot of waterfront property left. It's only a finite amount that's there. So if you do get into it, know that putting that money into it will pay out later at the time that you do sell it. Other things that people are worried about are deep water docks. There are certain boats that just aren't going to stay afloat if they don't have a deep water dock. Now, there are some areas, specifically in Fort Walton Beach, that don't have deep water around them. So you may see, if you're ever out on the water, that these docks go out for what seems like a mile. It's not that long. But there are a lot of those that go all the way out there just because a lot of those bayfront areas are just super shallow. So in order for it to get out to a deep enough water for their boat, you'll see that they have rather long docks to get out there. Those that are in certain parts of the bayou and the bay may be deep water. You may be able to get your sailboat over there, but I do caution you on this because some of the areas you may not be able to get your sailboat under some of the bridges that we have from some of the bayous and areas in Fort Walton. So if you do like that, make sure that you take a look into that prior to putting an offer in on that property if you want to get a sailboat or something. All right, also some things to keep in the back of your mind as well. In Fort Walton Beach specifically, or some areas, do you have access to golf cart areas? I really love this about the waterfront areas in Fort Walton, because if you're just south of the unincorporated area in Fort Walton Beach, then you will have access by Ferry Park, Elliott Point, to get in a golf cart and access all those other things on the other other side of Eglin Parkway. So as long as you're Eglin Parkway East and you're south of the last bridge there, you're gonna be able to get in your golf cart, go to work, go to all the stores. And really nice part about that, especially in Fort Walton Beach, is that they have the landing is where they're calling it. They're revamping a lot part of the downtown as they've been putting the new Brooks Bridge in. So there's going to be a lot of access to all the different restaurants and places like that for you and your family to go and really to enjoy the festivals and things like that without actually having to get into a car and go out. And with a golf cart, just to let you know, if you are using it on the public streets, it does have to be registered. One of the last questions that they had here was dock maintenance. That's one of some things that people have been concerned about, how long it needs to be to access that deep water. We kind of talked about that a little bit for the boat, and what sort of maintenance does it actually tend to keep up? Are they insured? Things like that. Most of the time, you're not going to find too many of those. If there is a storm that's going to come in, it will probably take out your dock. We had Hurricane Sandy that came through. Even though we didn't really get the winds and everything else that came from it, we did get the surge waters, and with that, busted up almost everybody's dock. I would definitely take a look at that, what the replacement cost would be over time for those coming in. So that is a concern for some people that are going in. So just want to recap some of the questions that you guys had asked. So I'm just cheating, looking on my notes down here. So the first question was, what did our buyers mostly look for in a home when discussing the house that they want? That's going to really be depending upon the buyer. What's important to you? Do you need 3-car garage? Do you need deep water, or you just want access to water? Do you care if there's a dock, if there's no dock? Do you care if there's an HOA? A lot of the things are the typical things that everybody looks at when they're looking at homes, when they're looking at the interior. Usually it could be the view. One of the things that was particular for a person that we helped was, does the sun come up? Like, where does it come up most of the season so that I can enjoy the area? All these different things have been concerns. Deep water sailboats, I bring that up because that was another thing that somebody had brought up. Hey, can I get that under this bridge? That's a great question. So it will really just depend, all the concerns and things I just mentioned from a lot of those stories that we've had in the past. All right, so the next question was, is it the newly built or newly renovated modern homes, or is it the homes that we can renovate that people are wanting? So again, it's situational. Most people that we help wants that move-in ready. If it's not, then it's more of an investor special. Although I have met some people that were like, I'd rather just get something, it's like a blank canvas and we can just create it the way that we want. I just helped somebody out a couple of years ago that they moved into the house and they just restyled the entire thing. Maybe $150,000 worth of updates that they put into the home to make it exactly what they were looking for and what they wanted. So I would say the ones that are newly built, as long as the consumer can afford it, the buyer can afford it, or the ones that are newly renovated are the ones that are going to sell fastest. And what are the price points for the newly built renovated houses versus the houses that need renovation? For the ones that are completely renovated, you're going to be looking, in all the places I talked about, it's going to be $1 million plus. I've seen the newly renovated ones usually around 1.2 to 2 million with the nice access to the water. And now if it's in a generally better area one than the other, then you're going to find that it's going to be pushing a little bit closer to that 2 million point. If it's in a less desirable area with some updates, you can see it just below $1 million. We just saw a beautiful home in Fort Walton Beach, not in the most desirable area, but it had all the aspects to it with general updates to it and beautiful backyard docks and everything else like that. It went for just below 900,000. This is one of those advantageous things if you're watching this video right now or listening to it via podcast. At the end of 2024 going into 2025 with a higher inventory, there's a lot more advantages for you as a buyer. Even though the interest rates are high now, you may hold on to this for years and years. You can always refinance later, but you have such an opportunity to find that gorgeous house that you want right now. It's such an opportunity. Moving on. What are the concerns that we're looking for in a home? And I think we went through this. They had asked specifically financial wise, weather, distance from amenities. Again, the more desirable area, the more the cost of the home's going to be. And we kind of talked about finances. Finances are going to be taxes because it's going to be valued more, especially if it's renovated. Insurance may be higher, more than likely. If you're in a flood zone, you're going to have to carry a flood insurance as well. That's an additional cost. Some of these neighborhoods are going to be in an HOA, so you're going to have that additional HOA cost. If the home's a little bit bigger, then you may have to worry about that. You also have seawall and dock. If you have both of those things, you may have to worry about maintenance for that. That's something you may not necessarily think about. If you have a boat lift, that's going to be, if you have a boat, that's just a money pit anyway. Just kidding, not really. But you have all these different aspects that you're going to be having to go through. And of course, updates or anything else that you need to if storm damage does happen. So those are some of those, answering those questions that you guys had asked. Thank you again for those that did reach out to us and ask for these questions. We love answering them for you. But that's really all we have for Waterfront Living and and is it advantageous to you? Hopefully here you got all the answers to make that move. If not, if you have more questions for us, feel free to leave them in the comments below. If you are part of our audio programs, then please just wait till the end. We got a phone number you can call or text us. We'd love to hear from you guys. Again, it's never too early to reach out to us. So if you do need help finding that waterfront or any property here on the Emerald Coast, please give us a call, text, or email. Get a hold of me or any of my awesome team members here. We're happy to help you. And of course, I'm Tim Whittemore here with the Whittemore Group, and we'll see you in our next video. Take care.